music, turn it down low. Welcome to the show, Positively Awesome Wrestling Podcast Show, to be exact. And it is yours truly, the Jimmy Bebe. And I am joined, as always, to the right of me, we got Albert. Albert, how the heck have you been? And how have you been enjoying your wrestling this week?
I've been doing good, and man, wrestling has been fun this week. So I feel like every week I feel like I said the same thing. It's just been I just feel like we're hitting on all cylinders. Leading up to the Royal Rumble now. 9 days until the Royal Rumble. We get two brand new Royal Rumble matches in 9 days. So it's like my birthday. I'm excited. I actually watched Collision, and because I wanted to see Christopher Daniels and Adam Hangman Page, and I very, very much enjoyed that match. So
yeah, it was a good death match.
Yeah, it really was a good death match. Man, Christopher Daniels, I mean, he got the crap kicked out of him, for that being his last match. Man, did he ever he gave a lot to Hangman in that. That was it was pretty brutal.
It's pretty wild because I feel like I've been watching Collision more recently, and Collision kind of seems like it's the more better show at this point to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I can fast forward things because I'm not watching it live. I'm watching it Sunday morning. That might have something to do with it, but they have a lot more of what I'm looking for. Whereas on Dynamite, it kind of seems to be like, I like this, and then I don't. I like this, I don't. So
I like the
that's why we're here.
That's the word I wanted to use. I like the format of Collision. I like that they start off with the backstage promos. Like the video package promos in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, like they did when Punk was there. Like his staples, and they started doing those again.
I like that because it's giving us some promo work, and it's introducing us to why we're having some of these matches. And I like that because as a casual viewer, sometimes when somebody drops in to see that,
you're inviting me.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
What is Upbeat Gaming? Thank you for joining. Oh, that's Nick. What up, Nick? Thank you for joining, man. I've tuned into a Collision periodically through the years. Or through the months. It hasn't been for years.
Look, I'll just say this. I didn't stay for the main event of Collision. Yeah. I did watch the beginning. I did not stay for the main event for various reasons.
I actually enjoyed it. I know everyone was poo-pooing on it before it happened, and then I watched it. I think it played out fine enough to where I'm like, okay, because I get everyone's complaint about. I 100% do. I said let it play out. It didn't play out the way I think it should have. But that's my idea, and I didn't like it that much. But it was fine. But
it still didn't make any sense.
But I was paying attention through Collision through the months, and I've noticed that sometimes they do the opening segments, and then sometimes they don't. Recently, it seems like they have been. So
I like that.
Dynamite was good this week. Well, I'll agree to disagree on that one.
I did not watch yet. So.
What up, Harry? So you're watching Collision not live. You're watching it on a
it was because the football was on Saturday, right?
Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, Sunday morning. No, it was great. Sunday morning, my girl wasn't here, so I woke up and I made my breakfast and I watched the death match, and I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. Like Sunday morning wrestling was that was great for me, But yeah, so I did enjoy. I've been enjoying, and I mean, obviously, I watched SmackDown last week. I watched Raw this week, and I've enjoyed everything. It's been fun. It's been wrestling's cooking.
That's a more accurate statement. I still wouldn't say it was a very accurate statement. I was very hyped with the very beginning of the show, and then they kind of just. But let's get to why we're here, because as they put it, Penta. Cielo, Miero. I think I said that right.
I think you did.
That's why we're here. We're jumping on that bandwagon because he's the hot commodity at this point in time. And before we even get into our list, in case anyone doesn't know why we're here, we're doing the top 5 matches we want to see Penta have in WWE. Not feuds. I don't know how these feuds are going to really happen with the language barrier. This is a thing, though. I don't think the feuds are going to be as hot as the matches. I think the matches are going to be more of what Penta is going to thrive with. And maybe feuds happen with the matches, and he has like best of 5 series. But that's just my take on it. So I feel like matches was probably a more accurate list for us to have. So with that said, I want to know, is there any names that you left off the list that people might be a little bit shocked by? He's bruised. He's frozen.
there's a part of me, and I have him on the list just because I feel like I have to have Rey Mysterio on the list. You know, I don't know. You know, like he's there, and I feel like I want to replace him with somebody else. Like I feel like I have to because I do really want to see that. Like I feel like it's something like. If
for sure,
my list is really the 4 names that really jumped out at me first. It was 4 names really jumped out at me, and one of them I kind of thought about a little bit, and I went, you know what would be cool? And that was pretty much my wild card. Was my last one. That's pretty much how I made it. You know,
that's what we're looking for here. I put the 8 names that came to me. I had 8, and then I had to shorten that list. So I left some off that I was kind of like, but the one big one that I left off that I feel like might surprise Jacob Fatu, because I'm big on Jacob Fatu and I want him to wrestle everybody at this point. He's just the guy I look forward to the most watching in the ring at this point in time. So he's not on the list, but it's because I just like the other ones against Penta more.
Yeah.
And hey, it's happened. You should go look it up. Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground is a fantastic thing to go watch. It is amazing.
It's unfortunately a little hard to find right now, and that's unfortunate because it was on. It's not, and I looked for it actually I want to say maybe about like 6 months ago. I was like, you know what? I was starting. I had watched something with Tamara, and she was kind of into it, and I was like, you know what? You know what? Catch her. Really good story in wrestling, man. Lucha Underground would be good, and the girls wrestle the guys. So I'm like, I kind of feel like she would be into this. I went to go look for it, and it's not on there anymore. I was really disappointed.
So not for free at the moment, but Prime Video, it's like $1.99 an episode. So if you got that extra change, go check it out. If not, just hold off. Wait, I'm sure it'll be somewhere sooner or later. So man, we got comments going on right here.
We do.
So you've seen Penta versus Rey.
Yeah. Even so, I want to see it again. You know, and it's also in the WWE. It's on the grand stage. That's my big, and that's the reason why. And I'm not trying to, dilute anybody else's flames here. I know, look, Lucha Underground was great. I just said I watched the whole thing. I enjoyed it. I wanted to watch it again. That's how much I enjoyed it. I wanted to see it a second time. It's not WWE, right? And Penta versus Rey at like a SummerSlam or something like that. I mean, that would be amazing.
The grand spectacle of it all.
Yeah,
I get it. I'm gonna go watch. Hey, that's awesome. I know they're coming down here towards my way, and I'm actually looking forward to trying to actually go to a show because I've been dying to check out TNA live for a minute. Because if there's anything that's gonna hook me, it's gonna be watching it live. Because the TV hasn't done it, so it's got to be live. And if not, sorry TNA, you've officially lost me. But. So with that, we're just going to jump right into it, and we're going to go number 5, the 5th most anticipated match for Penta and WWE. Albert, I'm going to put you on the spot first. Who's at number 5?
Look, we already started talking about it. We'll just go with Rey Mysterio. I just think that there's, I mean, we may as well, right? He was number 5 on my list. I mean, if there's a match I want to see. That's like one of the first names that jumped out at me. And I did think the same thing. I was like, I know I've seen this already, but man, imagine the appeal of seeing those two guys. Because Rey is still, at 50 years old, moving really, really well.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're going to, him and Penta are holding anything back against each other. I mean, we're already seeing Penta throw Mexican destroyers all around. You know what I mean? It's, where we're seeing that they're not really holding a lot back. So we get the full-blown experience of Rey versus Penta on a very grand stage. I'd like to see it at like a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania with, a good story that leads up to it, that they're not just doing it and it's like their first time wrestling. And I really want to make them make it a big deal. And I think they should. I think it's, it's that big of a it could be a passing of the torch kind of a deal here.
It's a Backlash in Mexico City match if they're not going to do it.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout.
They have plenty of time to build him up too. Like it's not like people aren't already hot for him. Again, we're making a show about him. He's clearly a big deal at this point in time.
Or is he like a 6-man with Dragon Lee and like turns on Rey at that show? Like that gives him mega heat to lead up to like a WrestleMania match between the two of them.
Tag teams and stuff like that. they could use it somehow. And TNA's live. I meant live in person, not live on TV. I got to see it live in person at this point. And then my number 5 is Pentagon versus Seth Rollins. That is a good shout.
That's a good one too. Yeah, I don't have Seth on my list.
I wouldn't doubt if we saw this.
I would love to.
I'm not sure how we get there, how it goes, or anything. I don't know if I'm excited, but if I see it, I'm gonna watch it for sure.
Yeah.
So Pile Drivers canceled you, but Somersault Pile Drivers. Okay, so here's the thing. With a pile driver, you're literally forcing the person's head into the mat, whereas when you're doing the somersault pile driver, it's not really a drive down. It's more of a – that's the way I look at it. I know everyone's like mad because it is a really cool move that gets overused big time. I don't think it's as devastating as an actual pile driver, though. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I think originally –
as a transitional move off the top rope. So if Penta is using it on the mat, hey, everybody, come on. Let's put 2 and 2 together. 2 plus 2 isn't 5. It's 4.
Yep.
Hey, and they matter. And they matter, sir. Didn't Ray
I agree.
Say last Friday if he wins the Rumble, he wants a dream match? I don't know. I don't listen to that deadbeat. My number 5. We got Rey Mysterio. We got that deadbeat off the air. Man, I can't believe we spent any kind of time with that guy.
So glad.
I'm going to go number 5, a little bit of a shocker here, but if you're paying attention to kind of how I talk about matches, even with UFC, we talked about, I think, very briefly before. Maybe I did it on another channel. Styles. I love it when styles clash.
I have one too.
So I think right now at this point of his career, he is just putting on banger after banger after banger. And if there's anybody who can go like full on with Penta, like because Penta is a chopper, Gunther has said that Penta has the worst chops of everybody.
Yes.
So anybody that's going to go really all in on Penta and you get a really brutal match and you get a nice clash of styles, Sheamus versus Penta would be awesome. And it don't have to be anything. It don't need to be crazy. This could be a Raw main event, honestly. It doesn't have to be something that we build up towards. No. It could literally be just Sheamus and Penta. They just get thrown into a match and it happens, and it would be awesome. Because again,
I agree.
It's crazy to think that at this point in his career, Sheamus is putting on the best matches of his carear.
It's crazy, right? It doesn't make sense. He's like gone back in time.
Yeah, it's like all the things have aligned in his head, and he's figured out a way to use what he can do physically and slow it down and use these moves when they matter most and really put on a show for people.
Right.
And hey, I was literally just thinking this, Harry. If Sheamus wins the IC title, I think dropping it to Penta would be a great little way to really put Penta over and get the title on him.
That's great.
If that's what we're going to do. So that's a great shout.
And
then out of my head.
Ooh, and then you know what that would mean, right?
Dom's taking it off of Penta because Dominic is the greatest luchador in the history of all mankind universe galaxies.
Okay, fine. So if you want to go there, then we can go into my next pick, and that would be Dom.
Like my number 5 is AJ Styles. That's not a bad shout. That would be a clean match for sure. And Penta made Gunther bleed. Yeah, like Gunther said, like if there's someone who chops harder than me, it's Penta. So
yeah.
And he wears he protects himself. He a little cheater. Penta's a cheater, bro.
Smart.
So yeah, we'll go into number 4. We already know he name dropped it, and I'm gonna jump right into this because Dominic Mysterio is always going to be awesome. And I guess this was probably a name I knew he was on your list, so I didn't talk about him not being on mine. I didn't put him on my list.
I figured that one of us was going to do it, and I kind of thought that you figured that I was going to do it. So
it's the reason I didn't put Chelsea on the U.S. title one. I'm trying to give other people an opportunity to have some shine on the show. I'll talk about Chelsea and Dom all day if you give me the opportunity. So
okay, so we're going to turn this into the Chelsea and Dom prediction of who we want to see them feud with.
I could do.
Same. But yeah, look, I think it's natural right now. I mean, they're talking about, like, I almost think that they're building to it. You know, Chad Gable is having issues with luchadors. He's sending him to train with someone. I feel like that in some way, shape, or form, this is going to, come back around to the fact of Dom versus Penta. I think that they're their styles complement each other so well because Dom just sells his butt off, and Penta is very good at dishing out punishment. Dom is very good at pressing. Yeah, and he's very good at like pressing an advantage when he needs to in the match, not because he's supposed to, which is, he is a very good wrestler. Dom's really turned into a very smart wrestler.
Underrated.
Yeah, very much so. I think people are like, oh, he still really doesn't do much. Yeah. And look how much heat he still gets in his matches.
But that's because his character, he's literally wrestling as the character, and the character is not supposed to be doing these things. He's supposed to be getting his butt whipped because that's what people want to see.
Right.
And when they cheer for him, what does he do? He pulls out some stuff. Gunther match. Perfect example of that.
Right.
So, hey, I'll just go ahead and put this out. That's a possible Mania match for Penta.
I think so. Because
I'm going to say that early on. Get him away from Ray for one year.
Right.
Give him someone else.
Separate shows, right?
Yeah.
So I think that works out. That finally, we're not gonna, hopefully, we're not gonna see that again this year. But I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a great highlight match for both of them. I think Dom gets great heat already, and to put that into a crowd that's already reacting very, very well to Penta, I mean, it just breeds her. It's just a perfect storm for a great WrestleMania match.
It's why I said to put Dom with Liv. It's to help her get over. It's why I had him turn on Rhea, because it helps her go from we really like Rhea to we freaking love Rhea. And you got a guy who's like getting a lot of good reception right now, and you put him in there with one of the hottest heels in the company, and we hate this guy, we love this guy. It really amplifies that and puts him in a position to kind of go off after Mania. I mean, you could honestly put the IC title on him after the Raw after Mania if they were to go that route. That's how successful that thing would be. I want to go ahead sidebar this real quick since we brought up Dom and how he's transitioning into a feud with Penta possibly, and I want your take on this. Who did he give the name to? What was the name that Dom gave to Chad Gable on Raw to help him go after Penta?
I'm really not sure because my initial thought was it was maybe going to be somebody like JBL, because I was like, oh, he has a few, and then I was thinking, all right, who's beaten Rey Mysterio a lot? And I really just can't think of anybody.
It's top of my head. It's for Penta. It's against Penta.
Yeah, but I mean, he's talking about someone who knows how to beat luchadors. I feel like it's somebody who would be like I was thinking it's got to be somebody who was a thorn in Rey's side for years. That was my thought. I couldn't really come up with anything. I'm like, I'm stumped, and I'm kind of curious to see.
I have two theories.
Okay.
One was completely stolen from me. Imagine that. I literally told the person how to connect the dots on something, and then he literally was like, okay, and then just created his own post about it, and it kind of just blew up and everything.
Of course.
At Malachi Black's school is called the Dark Arts Gym, and he said he was going to see the Master of the Dark Arts. We all know Malachi Black is most likely, heading back to WWE. I don't know how that transitions into like luchador stuff. I don't. But I think the names and coincidence and timing of everything is a little bit crazy.
Okay.
The other one would be Conan, because Conan is big in luchadors.
Yeah.
He's a big part of the AAA. I think WWE is branching out and working with these companies, and it could be a way to get Chad Gable into AAA and work with a bunch of luchadors and do a cross promotion there. And we know AAA and AEW kind of had a falling out. Conan, loves Conan's the reason Penta's in WWE. So I think that's a thing. And like I said, Conan is one of the 3 people that actually trained Dom. So those are my 2 theories. Don't be surprised if Chad Gable shows up in AAA, everybody. But the Malachi Black one, again, timing is everything. So let's see. Here we go. Nick's got some stuff. Shout Tommy End, as he used to be known to be a lot of luchadors and CML. Boom, boom, right there.
There you go.
So Malachi Black is the hot one. I wouldn't mind because Chad Gable talked about how he loved wrestling Penta. It like made him like feel alive again. So let him go wrestle the luchadors down in AAA and like really get some of that work done.
Yeah.
No, you do not, Harry. You do not, sir. I just said get out of my head. Nick's number 4 though is Ludwig Kaiser. I think we'll be seeing that one much sooner rather than later. And then here, hey, this is another good shout. Sami Zayn. It's not on my list. That's another one.
Me either. That's a good one too. Yeah,
that's a good one. My pick is Santos, Dr. Wagner Jr. or Chavo. Santos. No, we're not doing Santos. No, please no. No.
Not again. Yeah, not again.
No. So we got. He said Ray and then Dom. He's just going down the list. He went
Just
from
going.
the worst
I'm going to the
luchador of all
Mysterio
time.
family.
He said the worst luchador of all time, and then the best luchador of all time. His next one's gonna be Juventud Guerrera.
How did you get off my list?
I am not mad at the Juice. I would watch the Juice and Penta all day. My number 4, though, and Harry said it earlier, and I told Adam Pearce that he needs to make this match happen on Monday Night Raw this week. Carmelo Hayes.
That's a good one.
Because Carmelo Hayes, I feel like, is the hot guy in the ring for WWE at the moment. I feel like he's kind of taking Chad Gable's spot because of how fumbling Chad. But we got to get Carmelo some more in-ring reps. We got to do it. And you got to get these losses out of the way while he's being the cocky heel so that we can do something later. Oh, man, he says number 3 is going to be Aaliyah Mysterio.
Harry, get out. Did you see my list?
But if you look back,
Angie's my number 2.
The one thing that's been very effective for Carmelo since he's been on the main roster is the feud with Andrade. You gave him someone to get in there and do work with, and it worked wonders for him. And then they did the crazy Game 7 fumble. What I won't talk about it. They did that, and it kind of just killed his momentum a little bit, and we didn't see him a little bit. I think Penta can do exactly the same thing with Andrade. He doesn't wrestle like Andrade, so it's not the same thing.
Right. No, exactly.
He's going to push Carmelo, and you're going to really be able to see Melo shine in a match against Penta. And again, I think they'd be able to do some things that WWE fans are like, oh, open their eyes a little bit. Penta can do that. Carmelo can do that.
Right.
Wow, this is amazing. This is great. And I think it's a great for both of them. It would help both of them out significantly. Just do a 3-match feud.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Simple as that. Melo has to cheat to get that one, but then Penta walks away with 2. Because I think Hayes should be losing until he turns face. That's my take. Because cocky heels with that kind of arrogance, you got to
have to be humbled.
Yes,
right.
Yes, you have to be humbled. So that's my number 4. Harry said, "Oh no." Nick says that was his number 3, so we can just go right into number 3 here, and I'll go ahead and take number 3 this time because I have Aaliyah Mysterio.
And no,
my number 3. Harry had him at 5. I have him at 3 because what I've been seeing recently out of Seth freaking Rollins is a little bit of that glimmer in his eye that we had a few years ago. I feel like he lost it for a little bit. Maybe it was all the injuries stacking up on him. That's very possible.
Yeah.
But man, since he's come back, I love what I'm seeing out of Seth in that ring. And it's reminding me of when I thought he was the best in the world. Is he anywhere near that right now? No. There is way too much. There's more talent out there that tops him, for sure. But he's showing that hunger, that desire to like really go out there and put on a show, steal the show, like Seth freaking Rollins used to do, and won me over. Like, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And if Penta's going to take a loss to someone at some point, I think Seth is a great opponent for that to be his first loss to.
Absolutely.
Because Seth shouldn't be losing that much anymore either. This is getting ridiculous how much he loses.
Yeah.
And you get a guy who is literally live and die WWE, and he's the perfect person to kind of bring you into that style a little bit. Teach you how to slow down sometimes. Teach you when it's okay to speed up. He could really help Penta transition more into the WWE. He's been doing great. This isn't a knock on that at all. But I feel like he's still moving quick. And there's got to be times where you slow down. And I think Seth is a guy that can really kind of help him control that. So it would be great.
And I think it's been a while since we've seen Seth have one of those matches where it's not something very ultra personal. So he's not trying to, instead of trying it to just be a match, it's more there's story behind it. So he's trying to slug away at Drew McIntyre because he doesn't like him. He's trying to beat the crap out of CM Punk because he doesn't like him. So it's not just a pure wrestling match. There's some fire behind it, which is great. Sometimes you just want that pure wrestling match. And I think something with him versus Penta can be that, and it can really put Seth back into that zone where you just see him for like being this in-ring guy. Like I am like this in-ring guy.
The perfect way to explain it is with CM Punk, he knows he's the better in-ring wrestler. Against Drew McIntyre, he knows he's the better in-ring wrestler. against Penta, he doesn't know that. It would be something he has to prove, and that tells it all for me. Like the self-doubt creeping in on Seth, put him in there with Penta, and then that's the simple story you got to do to get them in the ring and have them just tear the house down. That'd be fantastic. It would be fantastic. And as a matter of fact, since we've already fantasy booked Penta to win the IC title of the Raw after Mania, go ahead and have Seth Rollins versus Penta as the first feud after that.
I love that. Boom.
And that'd be a fantastic backlash match for Penta. Oh my God. Why have I not got the phone call yet? Perry says his number 3 is Penta versus Ilya. Hey,
that's a good
that
one.
Would be I didn't even think of Ilya because he's hurt right now. That is a fire one. Oh my God.
I think I have two other people on my list that I don't think you've thought of either.
They kill each other. But go ahead. You're going to be shocked with my number 2 here. I'm going to go ahead and flat out say it. You're going to be literally flabbergasted. Like, what?
Well, my number 3 is my last of the obvious picks. And it's Dragon Lee. So I went away from the Mysterios and went for the honorary successor to
Mysterio.
Right. Sure. Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. You read my mind. Look, I think that's look. Is that not the dream match right now? Like, is that not like the one? Like, I mean, you want to talk about work rate, and two guys that are like just can absolutely go off on each other and just have like these crazy matches. I think that's like the. If there is an AEW fan watching WWE, that's the match they are going to want to see, right? And WWE doesn't do these big car crash, cruiserweight, flippy, diving all over the place kind of matches often. So when they do, it's kind of different to see from them. Whereas in AEW, you get a lot of that. So then it's like, okay, if I've seen this 4 times in a night, I'm kind of a little bit tired of seeing this. With WWE, it's like, okay, this is the only kind of a match that they're kind of doing it,
I think it'll be good for Dragon Lee, but the only problem I see with it is that they've done nothing with Dragon Lee to make me think he could stand in there with Penta and it matter. That's my only problem with that. Obviously, the match would be great.
I think that there's going to be a point where Penta's going to turn heel. It's not going to be for a little while, but I think when he does, like the perfect guy, I think if you're building up Penta there's going to be a point where at some point he's going to have some interaction with the LWO. Not that I'm saying he's even going to be in it or even tagged with them or whatever. There's going to be some sort of an interaction at one point that's going to put him on the same screen as Dragon Lee. People, I think, are going to buzz at that, and people are going to be like, okay, I think this is something we're just going to want to see. I think WWE can capitalize and make Dragon Lee a little bit more of a contender.
Yeah.
At that point. I think that it's something that like they need to build to it. This isn't something they should just be giving away on Raw. Because and they could early on and just let them just go out and just go crazy on each other, But Penta gets a decent win out of that. But then if Dragon Lee's built up a little bit
showcasing Dragon Lee a little bit more,
right?
They can just have that happen. But to defend this a little bit, if you want to showcase what these guys can do, these specific dudes can do more than anything, I feel like putting them against each other kind of does do that because Penta can't go in there with. I don't know,
Randy
Orton and showcase that he because I don't feel like the speeds are different. These guys wrestle such a more high caliber speed. So not just do these matches, but you have to do them eventually.
Right.
But that's again, I get it. It's not even as a bad match. I just think they need to do more with Dragon Lee and a lot of
I do. He just announced that his daughter, the birth of his daughter. It's either today or basically he said it's coming.
Yeah, I think it was today.
Yeah, so that's amazing. Congratulations to him. That's awesome.
Go out there and get that work, bro.
Yeah, once he's done being a dad for a little bit. I mean, look, you have to think that as soon as the baby's born, he's going to be right back out on the road. His hero is Rey Mysterio, who's a deadbeat, so he wouldn't take care of the child, right?
Yeah, Rey's just like, all right, you saw it happen. Now get away from him before you had to get attached to him. You saw it happen to my son. I left him and I did wonders. I'm the greatest luchador of all time, even though that's not even a factual statement, Rey. You deadbeat piece of garbage.
It's all fun.
Number 2. Let's go to number 2.
Let's go to number 2.
Okay, start us off. He has number 2 at Braun Breaker.
I like that one too.
Fantastic match for Braun Breaker. What I am loving the most about these lists is we all have so many different names here. It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So,
and I don't think anybody has the last two names on their list that I do, which I think is awesome.
he's the speed champion still? Nah, he can keep that. He can keep that. They need to do more with him though. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
They need to do more with him. So yeah, number 2. I'm gonna let you go ahead first since you've already built it up as if you got this grand number 2 mystery opponent for Penta.
They're not crazy. I just don't think anybody's thinking about them.
Number 2,
Charlie Dempsey.
that is a crazy one that I never even thought of. No, I would have never thought of it, but I like it because that's a very clash of styles is amazing.
The clash of style. I said, okay, I want somebody who can almost wrestle similar to Gable, but is even more of like, technical. And I went, oh, Charlie Dempsey. Ooh. And then bang, it just struck into my head. I was like, that's it. That's what I want to see. Like, I want to see Charlie Dempsey's like big first feud when he comes up from NXT to be against somebody like Penta. I mean, that's the thing that's like a great way to showcase what he can do and a completely different kind of a style with a guy with Penta. I think that, obviously it's William Regal's son. Regal has been very well traveled. He's wrestled everybody in the world and in every different style. And that's what he wants to do for his son as well. I think that that's a great Clash of Styles match that would be absolutely awesome. But there you go. Yeah, I'm glad. And Harry, I'm glad that that's the one thing about people make fun of speed. It's 3 minutes, but it's also they're bringing people from NXT to have these 3-minute matches against some of the main roster guys and showcasing them. It's a really good tool to get people to get eyes on some of these other people.
Boom, right there. So I'm gonna go. Yeah, I saw this. It was great. It went right down to the wire, and it really helped showcase what Charlie can do, and also allowed Chad Gable to showcase some things that he doesn't really get to showcase on the regular. It was. You want
to know what I loved about this match? I watched this match standing in line for Space Mountain, and I was able to watch the entire thing. It was you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, I want more. I definitely want more of these two, but this was fun. Yeah.
Good pick, Albert. So that's a good number 2. So again, my number 2 is crazy too. I don't think anyone would have thought this because I feel like he's kind of been forgotten. But I look at his history and what were the opponents that got the best out of him, and it was kind of the indie darlings that got the best out of Austin Theory. And if we're gonna get Austin Theory back into the mix of things, put him in there with Penta and let Austin Theory remind everyone what he's capable of doing.
That's a good pick.
It needs to happen. I just listened to the Chris Van Vliet interview with Austin Theory, and I'm like, what are we waiting for with this?
Yeah.
He has it all.
He's got it all. I don't know what they're,
the drive, the talent. What are we waiting for?
I know that people are going to say they tried with everything with Cena and it failed.
No, they didn't.
They really didn't though. After that, they just did not capitalize on that.
They had no plan for him.
And it was, you can even hear it. There was that point where, because I go back, watch all the Royal Rumbles, right? There was that whole point where he was, the 100 million thousand hit man when he had the segment with Pat McAfee and The Rock. Where they put him in a very high ceiling situation. And I think he held his own better than most other people do in that situation. I don't think that he
out from under him.
Right.
You had your big moment and now we have nothing for you. And it's not that I even dislike the Theory Waller comp. I love them as a team. It makes a lot of sense.
I just think it's run its course.
But it was why do we even have to get to that point if Theory was being built up and built up and built up and built up, and then we're just push him off a cliff. We don't want him right now. He'll have to figure it out later. And it's God, this is why he shouldn't beat John Cena. This is exactly why he shouldn't beat John Cena, everybody.
So sometimes, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's a gift, and sometimes it's a curse. And a lot of times when they're not ready, it's a curse. And I think that immediately when you saw Cena ate him up on the microphone, it's okay, let's pull back, and Cena's got to win this. Yeah, because that's it. Okay, Theory, just look, he's not going to be the character that maybe is going to hang with a guy like John Cena, but Cena's can't treat him with kid gloves either. Yeah, he's got to swim with the sharks. He didn't. So you know what? Hey, let's pull back. Let's make Cena win. Okay, fine, whatever, Theory wins the title back maybe in a cheap way, or whatever, or maybe it's a non-title match, whatever you want to do,
But like I said, I look back at the matches he had that really allowed him to shine. Kevin Owens, one of his best matches he's had in WWE. AJ Styles, a phenomenal match, pun intended, 1000%. Seth Rollins, amazing match. And these are all TV matches, so it's not like they even like pulled out like all the stops for it. It was just like go out there and cook, and he did multiple times with the indie darlings, because those are guys that can keep up with him. And as I was talking about earlier, you want to find people with Penta that can keep up with him, and Austin Theory is perfect.
Yes, he can. Yeah,
this benefits both of these guys big time. And people need to remind him about Austin Theory. I feel so bad for this kid at this point. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen soon. And maybe you start it this way. Theory goes out there and puts on a banger of a match with Penta. Penta shakes his hand, and Waller's like, "What's that about?" And then that's how you like. It's this simple,
right? I mean, they're building towards it. With them throwing each other under the bus a few times. You can see that there's they're building towards it. They're very much dragging it though. They are. But you know what? That's the embarrassment of riches that they have.
Another thing right here, Brock was completely okay with this dude being in the final two with him in the Elimination Chamber. That's a stamp of approval if you ever needed one. So number ones. Let's see.
Do you think I have the crazy one?
Oh wait, number 2. Harry's number 2. Penta versus Gunther. Yeah. Obviously, that's a good one. He was on my list of 8, along with Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
There was another one. I'll save it until the end. But Gunther was on the list, but since again I've seen it,
right? I thought about it and same.
It's like I want to see stuff I haven't seen. And then Nick says his number 1 is Bronson Reed. I am never mad at a Bronson Reed shout out, buddy.
Same here.
Been one of the biggest fans of Bronson since he came back. So that would be awesome. So number 1. Do you want to go first? Or you want me?
Yeah, because I think yours is probably going to be more impactful. I think mine's kind of a little bit. It would take a little bit to be built, but I think it's going to be fun.
Mine's the fanboy pick, so I'll just go first anyway.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens.
All right,
I love Kevin Owens.
If I had an honorable mention, that would have been it. But I think they would have a banger match, plus the whole package pile driver connection too.
Yeah, it would be fantastic. And Kevin Owens is another one of those kind of like Seth Rollins. He presents a different kind of opponent than Seth against Penta, and I feel like he also is someone that could teach him the ropes a little bit. Like, all right, this is what we do. This is how we do it. This is why we do it.
Right.
This right here is impactful as opposed to this. If you were to, he's great at the psychology of WWE style.
Yes.
And that's what you need to learn if you want to grow. And I feel like a lot of the luchadors that came in and have failed, that everyone likes to point out as why Penta shouldn't have gone, I feel like they don't really change up anything. They kind of just stick with their style. And you got to change it up a little bit. You got to transition into the WWE style because that's just the way the game is played. Triple H told y'all, you got to play the game. He played the game. Look at him now. You got to play the game. Change it up a little bit. KO and Seth are perfect people for this. And KO is just higher on the list because I love KO. He is so close to taking my top spot as favorite of all time at this point.
He's incredible.
Whereas I don't think he can keep up speed-wise with Penta. He makes up for it with literally everything else.
Yeah.
Everything else. And this was clearly going to be a match that KO is going to ask for. He's going to want to wrestle Penta. And
why wouldn't he, right? Yeah.
When he wants something, you got to appease that because those are the ones that are going to be special.
Yeah.
KO makes perfect sense, Jimbo. I always do, buddy boy. So that's my number 1. It's not anything special or anything like that. It's just a fanboy pick, but it is a great matchup. 1000%. And then Harry says his number 1 is AJ Styles. So that was Nick's number 5. That's a good one.
It's definitely a good pick too.
Here's Albert with the greatest pick of all time to face Penta. What is it?
Not really, but it's just something I find very interesting. I think, and my answer is Montez Ford. I think that
the most bizarre answer ever, and I'm here to listen to it.
I just think that there's a point now where the Street Profits have, I know they're trying to heat them back up as a tag team, but I think that we've gotten to a point where let's break them up in the draft. Let's just give them a year and see what happens. And I think that Montez Ford is going to be the guy that everybody assumes should be the babyface because, he's great on the mic. He's got all that charisma. And I think that the perfect thing for him to do is be this cocky heel to start off. And I think that he shoots his mouth off in the locker room a couple of times. Penta's one of the guys who starts, whose ear, kind of gets into, and it leads to something in between the two of them. I think it's a great jump start to get Montez Ford into a singles run because it's a great feud because it's somebody that a brand new match that no one has ever seen before.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's going to, you talked about earlier about Carmelo Hayes, it bringing out a different side of Carmelo Hayes, some stuff that we haven't really seen Carmelo Hayes do in WWE. He's going to do in a match with, a guy like Penta. I think Montez Ford has that same potential that we haven't even seen yet because Montez Ford hasn't been able to kind of do some of that stuff because he's been in a tag team. So it's not all about him, right? He's going to focus on being a team. I really think that would be just an awesome start to launch Montez Ford as a singles wrestler. Him and Penta would tear the house down.
I'd like to see the match. I think the Montez Ford thing is kind of crazy at this point because it's like people have been waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it, and it hasn't happened yet. It's like, what are we waiting for?
Again, it's the same thing you kind of said with Theory, right?
Yeah. I feel like the Montez
we're waiting even longer. Yeah,
because people were like, he's going to be a future WWE champion. At this point, it's like I don't see how it's even possible. I know that sounds so negative, but
you know what?
I just don't know.
5 years ago, would you have said that about Jey Uso?
No, I still don't. Jey Uso, man, he had the rub of all rubs though with Roman.
I know. I'm just saying it's possible. It definitely is possible.
With Montez, I'm of the firm belief. I think Angelo's better. I think Montez just has all that charisma. I think Montez is good on the mic too. I think he's a little bit more believable with it because the way he presents himself. I think Angelo in the ring, whereas he's a little bit formulaic. I think he has far more to offer in the ring from what I've seen. Maybe Montez has a bunch that I haven't seen because he's saving it for a singles run. That's very possible. I don't know.
I kind of think he does. I kind of have that feeling. I think we saw a little bit of that. Remember when he had that U.S. title, like that really brief program where he was on the U.S. title picture? He was in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
We saw a little bit more out of him than we saw in the tag team. I feel like he's got more in the chamber that he's building.
I would love to see it. I think he has a great look. Again, charisma for days. I don't know if there's anybody on the planet that has more charisma than him. His frog splash is spectacular. It is spectacular.
So he's good in the ring. He's good on the mic. So he's oozes charisma. He checks every single box. And he married well too. And look, I know that shouldn't matter, but in WWE sometimes that matters. And Bianca might be of that respect of saying, "Hey guys, look, my husband's busting his ass. Give him a shot, please." It could give him, you know what I mean? Like that could be all he would need. And some people might say, "Hey, that's wrong," but you know what?
No.
Look what pro wrestling is. I mean, come on.
Out of here with that shit.
Yeah.
Don't be mad that he's got the opportunity to take advantage of shit. Like you would do the same, everybody.
And remember, he married her when she was in NXT. It's not like he was like, you know what I mean? Like,
But I feel like a match with Penta would be a match that convinced me, though. So I mean, that's a good matchup. It's 1,000% a good matchup. I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm a little bit shocked you didn't have Finn Balor on this list.
So here's
he was on my list of 8 too. Like he was the third one that I left off because I was like, "There's no way Albert doesn't pick Finn Balor." And
I didn't because I felt like I felt like that two names that were gonna just somehow get brought up and they both didn't get it brought up was Finn Balor and Andrade somewhere. And neither of them got brought up. And I was like, look, if I'm not going to mention him because either we're going to talk about something and somebody's going to mention Finn and I'm going to say, I didn't put Finn on the list because I knew he was going to get brought up somewhere. And the same thing with Andrade. Like I kind of thought that the both of them would have both been mentioned at some point. But those are two other ones that I really thought of that I was like, okay, this is like no-brainers. Obviously, anything with Finn for me is a no-brainer. I think that right now, though, but I don't want to see it right now because I don't want to see Penta lose this early, and Finn should not be losing any more matches if he's really going to get some sort of a push. Dude cannot lose any more matches.
He's about to be feuding with the greatest luchador of all time, Dominic, so he's going to be losing plenty of matches here, sir. Hey, guys, first time, long time is Karrion Kross going to win a title within the next 18 months? I would say no, and I would say that because I think he's such a good character. I know he does – man, I don't think they do enough with the guy. I love him. I think he's fantastic.
I agree.
If he was going to win a title, it'd be the United States title. That's like the lowest tier on the singles as far as I'm concerned. I think if he goes to SmackDown, I don't think he should be on Raw because Raw is just like jam-packed with superstars. I think Karrion Kross would be very good in the mid-card over on SmackDown. And I wouldn't be mad at it. I love Karrion Kross. Again, he's one of those guys. I think for his size, people want everyone to wrestle the same. I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. I think for his size, he wrestles exactly like he should wrestle.
Yes.
I think his finisher needs to be fixed because it does take a long time to set it up, and I hate finishing moves like that.
He stopped doing the pump handle version.
Yes.
If you noticed. So I thought that was a he I think the last couple times he hit it, he just hit it out of a straight power slam, which I think really
good. And as I've said multiple times, in case no one hasn't heard me yet, he is literally the nicest guy you'll ever meet. You want this man to get everything because he deserves it. He's such a fucking great dude. I don't know why it's not working because I find him interesting.
Everything he does.
He does things that nobody else does anymore. And for him to do what he's done with what they've given him, the fact that he went to he's been using social media to really kind of amplify what he's doing on the show. It's such good shit. Such good shit, pal. And I just don't get it. I think the mask thing that Vince did to him did a number on him. I really did, for the fans' perception of him. I think.
Yeah, I mean, losing his first match, that
stupid helmet. It was a shame.
Losing to Jeff Hardy, that really
the belt. He's too good with one. So, that's my thought. I
agree.
One, but he does need to start winning things.
If you notice, he was standing behind Seth Rollins during his promo when the promo ended. I mean, that's they're putting him in bigger, in these situations. I think to be, almost like the catalyst of being, those thoughts starting to turn, because you can see they're teasing Seth going heel now, with this whole thing with Sammy. The interesting thing of Karrion Kross now being that guy in Seth's ear to get him there. And I think that a Sammy Kross feud would be something that could really elevate Kross back into that intercontinental level conversation. If he can, have a really good feud with a guy like Sammy, that could really put him back on track.
Okay, and then his follow-up question: would Kennedy fit into the modern WWE? In my opinion, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I've never been big on him. I know everyone loved him. I wasn't there for everything I've seen from him has been rewatched.
Oh, okay, all right.
I never got the hype from what I've seen. I don't know. He's fun for sure. I think he would get lost in the shuffle because WWE is so talented right now. They're so talented. It's Karrion Kross is the victim of this right now.
Right.
Because there's so much talent, he's getting overlooked big time.
So you want to I think that it's a good comparison because I think that there's a lot of things that wrestling fans cling to because there's something that they see that is different. And I think the presentation of Kennedy of being, having the microphone drop down from the ceiling, him doing his own introduction, I think that was a huge thing to separate him from the pack. I think that that's one of the big things that's why you started to cling to him early on, because he was, he was a heel. And initially I was like, this guy's annoying. I just don't like him. And then he grew on me so much to the point where I was like, this guy should be world champion. What are we doing here? There were points where I'm telling, and you said people loved him. Yeah. I mean, he was over, a lot of people really, really, I wouldn't say
that's kind of my take on him.
I wouldn't say trash. I don't think he was terrible. He wasn't great by any means in the ring. Sure.
I would love a Kennedy Mansell Elite though.
I agree.
I'm pretty sure you could probably just make one. Go get the stunning the $1 million Steve Austin with the $1 million belt, and that's pretty much your Kennedy Elite right there.
I have the and I have the whole Jax ones, but
but yeah, real quick, we'll go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and knock out Saturday Night Main Event predictions just for the shit of it. And before then, I want to know what you think Penta's ceiling is. What do you think the highest level he's gonna reach in WWE is?
I mean, I think he's definitely gonna be a mid-card champion at some point. I think when Phoenix comes in, he's gonna be a tag. They're gonna team them back up. I think that's gonna delay some of the stuff, but I think his ceiling, I think he has the chance to be a guy like Rey Mysterio wrestling in main events. Do I think maybe he can win a world title? I think if he catches fire, absolutely. I think that there's a chance where there's a world where he could be, you know, that guy who wrestling fans will point to for like, you know, a bunch of years and be like, you don't have to, you know, be the greatest promo in the world to be a world champion. Look at Penta. And I feel like that's what's going to inevitably be. You know, I think he could be one of those guys. I think if lightning strikes, right place, right time, I think that he can.
So the world heavyweight champion, but not the WWE champion.
Okay, fair enough. Sure. And you know what? Look, it depends on what show it's on now. I think the prestige, look, to me, they're equal. I get that people are going to put them on a different, you know, especially because the World Heavyweight Championship is sort of new. In my mind, I just connect that title to all the lineage of the old World Heavyweight title in my mind.
Even the World
which if that backs it back up, and to me, they're similar.
Even the big gold in WWE was never on the same caliber as the WWE title.
That main evented WrestleManias, though. It was.
I still don't think it's on the same level. I just don't. Because when they talk about they want to be when they come to WWE, the goal is to be the WWE champion, not the world champion. That's kind of my take. Like, I love the big gold. It's my favorite.
It still counts, right? We talked about John Cena being a 16-time world champion. It still counts just as much as the other one. That's to me, if that's the case, I don't see the whole prestige thing because I get the whole thing for Cody because that was the world title. That makes sense. Like that's the world title his dad held. The lineage traces back to that
championship.
Yeah, the lineage traces back to that world title. I get it for that, but if like he was just telling like, hey, I want to be the world champion, and Roman held the other title. Remember, they unified them at one point. At one point, Roman was kind of holding the World Heavyweight Championship. He wasn't the main champ. He didn't have the main title. So, I mean, if that was the case, Cody would have came back and fought for that one, you know?
That's just my perception of him. I just feel like
I get it.
has always been like the one that people are like, that's the title.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, especially in the company, sure. I just think that when they're both being presented, I just don't think that, in my opinion, I'm like, there's not a difference. Like, I don't feel like that there's a stature. And you know what? Actually, take it, if you really want to be honest, I guess right now it is, right? Because Cody beat Gunther at Crown Jewel. So technically, I guess it is, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So I'll give you that. If you want to, you gave me the answer in kayfabe, I'm fine with it. And yeah, then that's fine. But if that switches next year, and you know whoever wins the Crown Jewel championship is the World Heavyweight Championship, that should change the perception of that championship to being on that same level because that champion is the ultimate, the grand champion. I
think it would take time to get it to that point. I think they've done a great job with that title. I know a lot of people were nitpicking some things on it, and I think the Seth Rollins reign was great.
Amazing. He did a great job.
The way that they did the whole Damian Priest's entire thing at WrestleMania, that was great because there you have three people in the lineage now, and there's a lineage. As short as it is, there's still lineage. And then Damian Priest was a transition champion that wasn't really a transition champion because he had a nice little run with it.
He did. Very respectable first run.
Now you have Gunther, who was the guy who back in the day you ran the IC title, and then once you proved yourself with that, you moved up the world, and then that's what they did with Gunther. So they've done it perfectly. I think they've done a good job, and I still think it's a top. I don't look at it as a secondary title. I don't.
Right.
I think it's the top title on this show. I still think the WWE title is just there, and that's all.
That's fair. I think that there's a point where I think WWE right now wants you to see that perception. I think there's going to be a point where it doesn't. Yeah.
There's no way he's not.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
Nick says IC USA tag champion. He's for sure going to be a tag team champion. We're going to get Usos versus Lucha Brothers for sure. There's no way they don't do that.
New Day too.
Yeah, you have to do that one because
I think that's like the natural first feud, right?
New Day rocks, son.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as me, I think IC title is his ceiling as a singles guy. I think he probably main events at PLE going for the world heavyweight title. There's no way I don't see that happening. He's going to challenge for that title. There's no doubt about it. Maybe even the WWE title. Maybe he shocks me because anybody who knows me knows I have not been the biggest Penta fan at all. But maybe he catches that fire that you were talking about and he gets to that point. I don't think he wins a top title. I think secondary at best. And again, main events and PLEs. And yeah, I think that's a ceiling.
There's a perception that WWE has when it comes to certain I don't know, certain things. And I think that there's a point where I feel like they have to have a top star of certain in certain ways. And I feel like when Ray doesn't wear, steps down and he's done, unless Dom really does, because that whole thing is that Ray said he wanted to pass his mask down to his son. I don't know if that means that Dom's going to forego the identity he built to wrestle as, under that mask for, or maybe he just comes out to.
That would be the worst decision ever.
Right? I think about it now. I mean, obviously that's maybe that's just something that they threw in during a feud to say, but I've heard Ray say it in interviews that was his intention.
He definitely wants to, but he's also gone since Dom has blown up a little bit and says, man, I'm just so proud of what he's doing.
Yeah. I think that, I think
too late, Ray. You're still a deadbeat piece of garbage. But
I think he turns right. I think he'll turn the mask over to Dom. Maybe he'll do it wear it during his entrances or something like that.
Dom will wipe his butt with it and throw it back in his face.
Dom's gonna turn babyface, and you're gonna have to stop pretending that you hate Ray. That's gonna be a fun day.
Oh man, that'd be fantastic.
It's gonna be a fun day when you're allowed to be a Rey Mysterio fan again.
He beats Ray. Ray bows down to him, takes the mask off, and hands it to him. And Dom wipes his butt with it, throws it in his face, and spits on him. Nick knows. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness!
Oh boy!
Definitely going to need security to get out of there. That would be
that's the biggest heat ever.
But okay.
But yeah, so my point is that I think that WWE likes to have a top tier star. I don't know if they have that in Dragon Lee. I just don't know yet. I don't really. I don't believe so. I think that Penta has that appeal at this right now. They started him off that hot.
For the amount of energy they're putting into him. And the way they're rolling out the carpet for him, he has all the tools to be that guy.
Right.
Other people fumble. It's just a matter of, is he willing to adapt to the WWE style? That's it.
So 2 matches in so far, so good, right?
Not even willing. Is he able to?
Right.
Because that's also been a problem. And I hope the best for him. I do. Because I've liked what I've seen of him so far because of the selling. I'm not some glazer that's like, oh, WWE, I like him now. No, he's always had a fantastic, one of the coolest looks of all time.
Yes.
It's right up there with La Parka and Psychosis. It is amazing. He's clearly talented. His selling has been garbage in the past from what I've seen.
So
in WWE, he is sold like a champ.
We mentioned Lucha Underground. I think if you watch him in Lucha Underground, I think that he's great. I think that he kind of does I think that he went to the indies after that and really adopted into that big indie kind of style. I think that's the wrestler that we saw in AEW. I think that he's pulled that back a little bit because he knows he can't wrestle that way in WWE. I think we're kind of going back to the way he kind of was in Lucha Underground, where he was a little bit more reserved and he wasn't going 100 miles an hour. I think that it was the big deal is that in Lucha Underground, he was almost always a heel. Yeah. So he was almost had to slow the match down because he was supposed to be that, you have to. You can't go at 100 miles an hour with your opponent in that respect. I think that he knows now how to do that as a babyface. And I think it's great because I think that we haven't seen all of what Penta can do in 2 matches, which is an amazing thing. And I also think that he's got this whole other gear that he can tap into.
Yeah,
right.
For the big shows.
Right. So
which is what we talk about all the time. Save some for the big shows. The normal shows don't feel just the same all the time.
Right.
Hey, mask versus mustache.
Ooh. Oh, no.
That's way more likely than mask versus hair.
God forbid somebody cheats and Dom has to shave. That'd be terrible. I don't even want to put that in the universe.
That would be more likely than the hair, in my opinion. But Saturday night main event. I thought there was 5 matches. I'm only seeing 4 on this. Nope, I see 5 now. Good deal. Okay. I refreshed. So we'll just tackle these real quick. I don't want to spend too much time because we're at the hour mark, but I do want to do them. Hey, no problem. Thank you for joining me. And absolutely, we'll be doing the Nitro review next week. Not this week, everybody. Sorry, things happen, and you'll just have to deal with them. But we will be back next week, hopefully. So, first match on the card, the one I am absolutely the most excited for. Oh my goodness, we getting Jacob Fatu, Braun Strowman. Big B men slapping me. The ring is not going to be able to contain this monstrosity colossal matchup. It's going to
This
be
is
fantastic.
a fully healed Braun Strowman, too, with something to prove against a Jacob Fatu who has been absolutely destroying people since he's debuted. This is going to be a car crash. I am here for it. I'm picking Jacob Fatu, but I'm also picking that this is the match of the night, the most fun match of the night, and I think that we're going to see a whole bunch of things that we did not expect out of these two guys.
So the pairing reminds me of Bronson and Jacob Fatu. Obviously, Bronson and Braun had much more time to build up to their match. It was incredible stuff. Oh my God, I forgot all about it until we just mentioned it. It was some of the best stuff of 2024.
The splash through the car. I mean, come on.
If the roster wasn't afraid of Jacob Fatu yet, they will be after Saturday. Because I think Jacob Fatu is going to annihilate Braun Strowman. I don't think it's going to be close. I think Braun's going to get a few moves in, and Fatu's just going to and destroy Braun Strowman. I want the title on Fatu by the end of 2025.
Oh, I know you do.
I want it. He is everything you want for. And
you can cut a promo like crazy, too.
He's a believable promo. Like, I fear this man. I think of it as when I think of people I'm afraid of, if I met them in an alley, okay, Brock Lesnar's always been like the one you go, and then Brock Lesnar or this guy. If I was in an alleyway and Brock Lesnar had a sword and a gun on one end and Jacob Fatu was on the other end, I'm taking my chances with Brock Lesnar. Jacob Fatu is that damn scary.
Yeah, he is a scary man. Yeah.
I love it. This is an awesome chance all throughout this because it's going to be great. Jacob Fatu's clearly winning this.
Yeah.
We both picked the same there. Next up, two more big old boys going to be beating each other down. Got Sheamus, the guy we were talking about earlier, taking on Braun Breaker for the IC title. Does Sheamus finally get the Grand Slam here and beat Braun Breaker?
I think so. I think that I do. I really do. I think that we've seen Braun Breaker lose before, and I think that there's a bigger story in here to tell because I think he's the younger guy here, and I think that they're gonna Sheamus will come out on top, and I think that it'll build to something where Sheamus will probably hold it until maybe WrestleMania. That's my thought process. I believe Sheamus just re-signed a brand new contract. I think that WWE doesn't have. I think that his bigger years are. I don't know he's going to be main eventing anymore. I think his really big years are behind him, right? Yeah. So I think if he signed a contract for another 5 years, he knows that he's going to be on his back a lot. I think WWE knows that he knows he's going to be on his back a lot in that time period because he's got to put over new stars, right? I think this is the right way to build Sheamus back up to being like this killer again, to get him into a position where he can be a very good guy for some of these other guys to start beating him. I really think that this is the right move. And here's the thing. I think Braun can take the loss. I don't think that –
loss.
Yeah, like we've seen it before. I don't think he needs to have – and WWE has really been building up these big, giant, like crazy title runs. Let the title change hands a little bit every once in a while. And I think this is the right thing to do. Saturday night's main event. It's the right time. It's not a pay-per-view. It's technically on free TV. Like it's everything you would want to make people want to come and watch, right? Like, oh my God, the title changed hands on this show. You know what I mean?
So the reason I think Braun Breaker doesn't lose, and they have been building this on TV. They've been building it for like 3 years though. I don't think you should have Braun Breaker in his first free big match. Like, should be losing. I think it should be a sign of like, this is one of our guys that you're going to be familiar with for the next 10, 15 years. Jump on board. And I think that's why Breaker would win here. I think Sheamus is going to do the Grand Slam. There's no way he doesn't with the way they've been building it up. Unless they do the heartbreaking thing like they do with Cena. But I don't see that. I think he does win it at some point. I think it should be on a bigger stage. Not Saturday main event. That's just me.
That's fair.
I think Breaker wins this.
Okay.
And probably, I said Jacob Fatu and Strowman will be the most fun match tonight. I think this will be the best match of the night.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Bell to bell, I think it's going to be great. Sheamus is going to make Breaker look like $1 million. Next up, the rematch from last year's Elimination Chamber that they're doing literally almost a year later. Rhea Ripley, rat shit Rhea Ripley, that cheating taking on Nia Jax, the 2024 Women's Wrestler of the Year for the Women's World Championship. Who you got? I know who you got, but
yeah, and this is a star making a star. If you don't already look at Rhea Ripley and think she's a star, this is the match that'll convince you that she is. It's built perfectly for Rhea to take Nia down. I think that it's. Yeah, I think it's gonna be good. I think these two girls are gonna put on a great match. I think it's gonna be hard hitting. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be a different women's match than most wrestling fans are used to seeing, which is great. I love when WWE puts something out there that's completely different than the norm. Okay. But it's Rhea.
Yeah, Rhea wins, and because cheats or something because she's a cheater. There is only 4 matches. I saw the graphic. I forgot this match is at the Royal Rumble. They're doing the contract signing between Kevin and Cody. I cannot wait to talk about that match next week at the Royal Rumble prediction show. So, events. This is, man, they're going to break my heart with this one. Gunther versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship in the main event of Saturday night main event. Who do you have?
Gunther.
Yeah. He says that's simple. It's just Gunther.
Yeah. Look, I love Jey Uso. He is the most over guy, like the most over babyface in WWE right now. I think you put him
wrestling. He is flat out. He's the most over dude in wrestling.
Yeah, there's nobody that's getting the reactions that this guy's getting.
He's getting better reactions than Roman Reigns while they were in the ring together. There's no other that you need. He is the most over guy in wrestling right now.
He's sitting there. There was that point where he was like, I think it was Roman, Cody, and Jey Uso, and Jey Uso was getting the loudest pops out of everybody. It's nuts to see how over he is. Job with him. They've done. It's unbelievable, right? I just don't think this is the right time for him to win the world title. I just don't think I don't know where you go from here with him as world champion, because that means he leads his way into WrestleMania with the world title. I also just don't think you cut the legs off of Gunther's run this early. So I'm going with Gunther.
This is interesting because I have Jey Uso, and
wow,
my heart because
this is
versus Cena, unless they get the title back on him before then. But I don't want to do flip floppy stuff because I think that will diminish the title if you just do flip floppy stuff.
Right.
I don't mind short reigns. I don't like flip flop. I think we're past that. That was a thing they used in the past, and this is why. Goldberg is supposed to be showing up on Monday on Raw. Goldberg and Gunther teased things a while ago. Jey Uso as world champion. Again, Jey Uso is one of those guys. If you tune in and you see this guy, you're like, this is the most fun dude I've ever seen in wrestling. And you see him win the title, like, yeah, he should be champion. That would entice me to check it out. Like, okay, this guy was fun. He's now the top guy. Let me check this shit out. And I would tune in to see him. Karen Cross teased some. I pointed this out, but he caught on, and they need to start listening to me a little bit more because Karen Cross had a segment with Sami Zayn after Drew McIntyre in which they were making fun of Sami for never chasing the world title, and it's because Sami Zayn cherishes his friendships over anything else. Who is his big friend? Jey Uso. If Jey Uso is world champion and we're getting a Sami Zayn Jey Uso feud going into WrestleMania, I'm all for it. It's not the Gunther Cena match I want.
It's also not the Sami KO match that I want either.
Definitely. It's not the matches I clearly want to see, but it's a road I can see them taking, and I'm on board with it.
Because that exchange on Raw, by the way, I thought of you immediately.
I literally I had tears. I was welling up. I loved it. It was an amazing segment. But again, goes back to like I fantasy book stuff. But if you give me something that's better than I don't want to better than my fantasy book. If you give me something that's worth watching, I'm not going to be mad. And I think this is one of those things that could happen. I'm on board with. Jay and Sami have a story they've been telling for 4 years now. It makes sense to do that. You have a lot of ammo to do there, and it allows Jey Uso to have a singles match at Mania to reconcile for that Pooh Fest last year. That I don't want to say is their fault. They lost time or whatever.
I rewatched it. It's not as bad as I think everybody made it out to be. I actually just recently rewatched it.
The perception of it is terrible, though, and I want the perception to be gone for Jay because as much as I don't like the guy, he's over. as over it gets. He's clearly got something, and
his matches have all gotten better too. It's not like he's
sure.
like, all right. So what? He had a bad match at WrestleMania. Some people have a bad match sometimes. Like come on.
I think it would be a great program, but that's for that. When if it happens, we could talk more about it. And again, it's one of those gotcha moments where I was like, I laid the blueprint for you guys if you pay attention a little bit. But that's why I think it's possible that Jay beats Gunther on Saturday. And just for a tiebreaker, in case we both end up with 2-2, I would like to ask who gets laid out at the contract signing, Cody or KO?
Cody.
Okay, this is good because I picked KO.
Interesting. Cool.
Because KO's gonna beat him. We'll talk about it the Royal Rumble thing. But
I hope so.
The show. That is the show, everybody. We went a little bit overboard, but I wanted to get these predictions in just to give us a little warm up for next week's prediction show, in which we are doing the Royal Rumble prediction show, and it is going to be awesome. Get your paper and pen ready. I will send you the questions so you're not blindsided by some, and I have the upper hand. I don't want to do that. But if you're still in the chat or you're watching at a later time, please join us. The Royal Rumble prediction is probably the best prediction show to do because it is literally everywhere. So we'll be doing that next week. So please join us for that. And no Nitro review over at the Friday Nitro reviews this week. Sorry, but you can go watch the other ones and catch up if you haven't. But with that said, thank you for watching. We will see you next week. And toodles.